So really, I'm telling you this because this is all connected to discovering some freaking stones in a circle, and you start going down all these rabbit holes and realizing, oh my God, this is serious knowledge. And how can we expect somebody that studied archaeology? They know nothing about toroidal fields. They know nothing about physics. They know nothing about light or sound or cymatics or anything or magnetism. How can we expect archaeologists, when they discover something significant, to connect the dots? They don't have enough peripheral knowledge to be able to connect the dots. So it's not their fault. It's the system's fault. And we need to correct that. And it's happening on its own. You got some fantastic researchers here in the UK. Hugh Newman is doing amazing work with his megalithomania and exposing stuff there in Glastonbury, and some amazing researchers, and with the whole geomancy that's been very strong here, all the different books on sacred geometry and the ley line energetic sites and so forth. So England and the UK has been very strong with the research in those fields. So it's good to know some of those people. So where am I going with that? So when I realized that the stone circles are energy generating devices, I suddenly took one look at the aerial photographs of the ancient temples in Egypt and the temples in all over the world, in North Africa and oh my God, Iran, or the old Persia, has unbelievable ruins that we know nothing about because nobody goes there and you can't photograph the stuff from the air. So you get old aerial photographs from the 50s and 60s and 70s before regime change in Persia. And there's some spectacular aerial photographs of some of the ancient temples and sites. And the moment you start looking at the temples, the way you look at the stone circles, you realize that these are not places of worship or where to go and offer some crap to some gods and and pray and ask for forgiveness or whatever it is you're supposed to do, or what our modern civilizations imposed on those sites. This is what they did here, and it was all ceremonial. If they don't know, it's all built for ceremonial purposes. It's always the same. And you start to realize that these ancient sites are not they're not temples for praying or worshiping. They are circuit boards. They're gigantic circuit boards on a humongous scale. And so everything changes, boom. And then you realize that the circuit boards are connected to amphitheaters, and the amphitheaters are potentially the batteries that start up these huge circuit boards, because the amphitheaters create so much sound and energy when you put people in them. It's a spectacular acoustic chamber. And it just, once your eyes open, you start to see, and then the shape of churches, all this, who came up with the design of a church? Why do all churches have to have these cone-shaped tools, these cones that go up into the sky? When I was in Bosnia now, they've got these amazing mosques in Bosnia, and they all have these rockets on top of the tower. And there are people that make these, and you can just see the scalar technology encoded into the tops of these towers of the mosques. It's right in front of our eyes. It's absolutely spectacular. So we've got to come to terms that these ancient civilizations really understood the use of energy and how to build energy generating devices by using the power of the earth or the power of the sky. And it was either sucking energy from the sky or pushing energy up into the sky, whichever they wanted. And what they wanted to do with that remains the big question. What I can tell you is the one question that people ask me all the time is, what were the stone circles for? Because there's so many of them, and they were all built on areas with no trees. So they was obviously built very specifically because there were no trees when they were built. Many of them now are covered in trees. You can't even see them from aerial photographs because these umbrella trees in Africa, they cover them. You can't see them. But there are thousands of them under the trees. So we know that since the stone circles have been built, the climate has changed, first of all. Rivers have formed. They've washed many of the stone circles away. We've had floods. We can see where floods have washed away some stone circles. So we know they go back a long, long time. So one of the conclusions that I've reached is that they were built when the climate and the weather of this planet was very different from what it is now. We didn't have rivers in those places. We didn't have trees in some of the places. Since then, we've had rivers form, and we've had the climate change completely, where we have a subtropical climate in areas where there are thousands and thousands, potentially millions of stone circles, but you can't see them because they're covered by trees and weeds. So is it possible that the circles are created to change the climate of the earth, to make it more hospitable, to put more oxygen or carbon dioxide in the air? I don't know. Any of those could be possible. We do know that it is raining much more than it did when they were built. So the climate has changed after they were built. So you can reach your own conclusion and write a book. Go and look at them and study them, and I'll welcome it, because I'm probably not going to do much more of that, because I've now become a one small town head. That's it.
Interesting, all those sort of things you just described are very well covered.
Yeah, so people find it themselves, They either find the video, the YouTube channels, and then they go down a rabbit hole, and they don't want to give up, or they go down the rabbit hole and they go, what a bunch of rubbish. So, yeah.
How many people look at it? Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah. So you wanted to ask something?
Yeah, I'll just
Or say something?
what your thoughts on the latest discoveries on the pyramids,
Wow.
the towers, and the rock.
I tell you what, when I saw that discovery about the pyramids, the big channels going down under the Great Pyramids, I smiled like a Cheshire cat, because I could see instantly what it is. I went, oh my God, those are resonating pillars, resonating chambers going deep down into the earth, picking up on the resonant frequencies of the earth and taking it up to vibrate. So the pyramid is like a capstone on top of a huge underground energy generating vibrating machine that takes the vibrations up. And then luckily Valery Uvarov was with me in Bosnia now, and he told me the latest discoveries they've made with tracing the flow of energy inside pyramids. It's fascinating what they've got. And this is like all the best Russian scientists and technologies they've got to measure the energies inside pyramids and how they flow. So when I saw that, I went, more proof. Yeah. All these ancient sites are just energy generating devices. And the fact that goes down like 2 kilometers or something.
625 meters they found, and another 2 kilometers of actual blockage.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
The crazy thing is, I mean, these 50-foot tunnel to contain it.
yeah. So it's fantastic, great discovery, And it just, every discovery like that just shows us how much more complex the ancient civilizations were. Somebody said to me the other day, we're the ones living in the Dark Ages. And it was just like, that really rang a loud bell with me. I went, yeah, bloody right, that's it. We're in the Dark Ages. We've been so lobotomized, and so everything's been hidden from us. Well, not hidden from us. Well, I guess hidden from us, but also, if you just look at what's happened to our education, everything. I mean, everything is just, it's ridiculous. But we're not here to complain. Again, this is part of the terrible truth that we need to know and use that as information. So that inspires me to know if the ancients knew how to generate an infinite amount of energy by simply using the frequencies of the earth, we can do that. We can replicate that. We don't need thermal energy. We don't need nuclear energy. We don't need solar energy. We can just use, as Nikola Tesla said, the earth rings like a bell. It never stops ringing. Yeah. Use the frequency of the earth, those 7.83 hertz, and all the fractals of it, right? So that's what makes the Bosnian tunnels, the Ravne tunnels, so amazing. I don't know if you know about the Ravne tunnels in Bosnia that lead up to the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. This is the T-shirt. I was just there last week. And, what Sam Osmanagic has found there and discovered and developed on his own with no help from anyone, with no financial support, with the government trying to shut him down all the time. What he's done there is an absolute miracle. The frequencies in the Ravne tunnels are a stable 7.83 hertz. It's unbelievable. The negative ions in those tunnels are above 200,000. Negative ions, concentration 200,000. Highest than anywhere else in the world other than Great Zimbabwe. He measured at the Great Zimbabwe when we were there last time. At the conical tower, cone-shaped tool, at the Great Zimbabwe ruins, facing the sky, at the base of the conical tower, Sam measured, this was in 2019 when we were on tour, 2020 when we were on tour there. January, February 2020. He measured the highest concentration of negative ions ever, until he then came back to Bosnia and went into the tunnels, and something had shifted in the tunnels, and suddenly he measured similar concentrations in the Ravne tunnels now. So what I wanted to say is that the same kind of healing testimonials I've had from the stone circles, Sam has had thousands, more than I've had in the stone circles, in the people in the Ravne tunnels being healed of all kinds of diseases and problems. And he's actually monitored it. So he's got scientific proof of what the people's energies look like before they go in and what they look like when they come out. So if you feel sick or if you got any problems, fly out to Bosnia, book yourself into one of the very cheap Airbnbs nearby. There are now 400 accommodation places in Visoko when there were none before he started. So you can see how he's activated the tourism and the business there, just from one guy.
All areas open to the general public.
Yeah. So you can go into the tunnels as often as you want, and you can stay there for as long as you want. They've excavated 3.5 kilometers. It's the most active archaeological site in the world right now, and has been for a number of years. It's crazy. One guy and a vision. You will not go there. It's unbelievable. It'll change. It's such a great place. And you know what the nice thing about it is? It's like because it's the tunnels and the entrance and this little road that leads up all the restaurants and the shops. It's like you're like on this holiday. And everyone that comes there is happy. Like everyone is smiling because everyone comes there with the right level of consciousness. So you meet like-minded people wherever you go, and everyone talks to everyone greets everyone. And you go to the park that he's built there. It's like a 5-kilometer walk, these two valleys. You start on this walk and you go, and then when it ends, you cross over the hill. It's a steep walk and down again, and you come back. And all along it's scattered with unbelievable knowledge of ancient civilizations and toroidal fields and spirals, and then there are labyrinths to walk through, and ancient history and ancient civilizations. It's just like it blows your mind what he's done. You can't believe it until you see it. Literally. So anyway,
do you think it's possible that with a lot of these cathedrals and churches with the spires and so forth, which were generally built on places actually wrapping it up in insulation tape?
Yeah, it could be. This is how I see it. There's a cone on top of the church. Cone-shaped technology does one thing. It speeds up sound frequencies and it pushes it out in a Caesar beam or at hypersound speeds. I've had many discussions with hypersound scientists in Germany, in Italy, and Austria. Or was it Switzerland? I forget now. But there are not many of them in the world, quite frankly, because not many research labs work with hypersound. It means sound moving faster than the speed of light. And it's a very dangerous technology. So they're not allowed to talk about it because they're under strict, gag orders or NDAs and whatever. So I've learned as much as I could from them without them getting into trouble. But so this, when I see a church or a dome, or like the Vatican or any dome, and mosques and anything that has a cone or a pyramid on top, it's spiraling energy and pushing it out in a beam. Like the pyramids, like the Bosnian pyramid. Bosnian pyramid puts out a beam of 28 kilohertz out the top, measured many times. It's not a theory, it's scientific fact. So they generate energy and they push it out on a beam. So that's what churches do. Why would they put a cone there? Because so I see it as this. People go inside, they're filled with fear or joy, or they sing, they clap their hands, they make a noise. That sound, that noise is energy. That's what they want to. And that energy gets spiraled up. So my question is, well, where's that energy going? Where's that Caesar energy going? And who's picking it up? And for what purpose? And imagine the millions of churches around the world constantly pushing up sound frequencies into the sky. It's a lot of energy. What are they busy powering? Is it possible that that's what's powering up some sort of a dome in the sky? That's as the Bible says, that there's some sort of a firmament. I know a guy in South Africa, and I'm not going to mention his name because I got him in trouble recently. So incredible. He can measure frequencies. He heals disease from afar, just from a photograph. He can pick up exactly what's wrong with you just by looking at a picture of you, because it captures your frequency. So he can read that frequency from a photograph. So he can heal you remotely. And he's been really successful with it. He also works with farmers to help farmers' lands and crops to grow better and not get sick, and insects and pests, and in dry areas and so forth. So he sent me a photograph some time ago, like 10 years, more than 10 years ago now. I said, I can't believe this, but this is what I found in the sky. And it is very disturbing. It literally is an image that he found on Google Sky, that he zoomed in, and this is a picture of Google Image. He took a screenshot. Did any of you see Geostorm, the movie Geostorm with the Scottish actor? What's his name? A Geostorm. It's all about this huge storm that's been created on Earth, and it's going to wipe out planet Earth. And the only way they can stop it is through this giant net in the sky that they've got. It looks like a hexagonal, gigantic net that's in the sky that controls the Earth's weather. And all I can say is the photograph that he took is identical to the images that you see in the movie Geostorm, where they control the weather. And that was very scary. Yeah, exactly. They show you in the films. Yeah, they hide it in plain sight. So, but again, those are all the terrible, like I said, the terrible truth. So now you can choose to go down the rabbit hole and go, oh my God, there's a control grid in the sky. What are we going to do? And spend the rest of your life worrying about that. So we can't do that. So there are many of these rabbit holes. But what it did for me is it drove me to say, okay, well, what are we going to do about this? And around 2005, I don't even know why. Well, I do know why. See how quickly I changed my mind there. And I want to remind you that that's your prerogative. You can change your mind because you can. Yeah, I used to think you're a wanker. I don't think that anymore. I think you're a nice guy, or vice versa. So when I discovered the origins of money, I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. I couldn't believe it. I thought, oh my God, these ancient priests that suddenly appeared on Earth, which are the evidence of the first royal bloodlines on Earth, that suddenly owned all the land. They became the first kings to own the land, and suddenly the people were their slaves, and they had to bring them things and offerings to their temples. They started to create these little clay tablets. This is 4000 BC, but I suspect it's even way before that. We can't really guess how far back this goes, but we speculate. But 4000 BC, some of these clay tablets, these tiny little clay tablets, if you look in my Ubuntu book, I'll show pictures of it. And then the Sumerian tablets tell us that these priest kings built their temples, and the temples are connected to where the laws were made and justice was dispensed from, and they were the banks, because from these temples, so it's all under one roof. Control, kingdom, justice, courts, money, banking, all from one place. And nothing has changed, right? But they started to issue these little clay tablets that had they would tell the people to bring in their silver and their gold and into the temple. And in return, they would give them a clay tablet. They would say, John Smith brought me 7 pieces of silver and 1 piece of gold, and give them the clay tablet. And they would keep the silver and gold. It's like, what a great exchange. And that's what they did, 4000 BC area. And then I went, oh my God, this is the origins of modern banking. These are promissory notes. These are negotiable instruments. These are the bills of exchange. And the Rothschilds just took that and they perfected it with their central banks. And I went, we're screwed. This is it. We can't get out of this.